Hello, this is Tarregor. This video is a stream on twitch.tv, and it's not edited, so it's going to look like a Twitch stream. Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of Retail WoW, Circuit Shadowlands, any private service, Vanilla Plus, and Turtle WoW. This is partially because its aims fix and allows many problems first, fleshing out partial secondary second, and new content third. This is a part of the playlist of videos. Check the description for a link to the playlist. The document displays my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus, and the document's version number is version 1.5.17. All versions of the document are based on patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft, the one before the Burning Crusade pre-patch. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch an introduction video in its playlist, or read the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is in my channel's About page. That, and I do not have a team of people, or however, working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Now, before I get into this, you want to know what profession cooldowns and profession level restriction variables are. Most examples of profession cooldowns from vanilla are engineering bombs. This is what the glossary says about profession cooldowns and profession level restriction. A profession cooldown, sometimes referred to as a profession buff, is a specific combat-altering bonus and special ability that is not necessarily tied to equipment that primary professions grant the player in order to make engineering not be the end-all be-all best profession in the entire game by leaps and bounds. Such buffs include a profession granting a permanent bonus to a stat, an activated ability of some sort, or the ability to use an item or an enchantment that requires having your profession at a specific level or higher, and possibly with a specific profession specialization in order to make use of it in the first place. For example, tailors get to make special shirt enchants called embroideries, not chest armor, but shirt enchants. These enchants, their passive stat increases will do absolutely nothing unless you have enough tailoring of the correct specialization, though most of them don't require a specialization. And their activated abilities will, of course, not be usable if you do not have enough tailoring skill. Of course, concerning all profession buffs and cooldowns for all professions, not just tailoring embroideries, you'll lose your profession buff / cooldowns if you drop your profession. A profession level restriction variable is the character level that best corresponds to a specified profession level concerning how powerful the items are that you may craft at a given profession level. For example, a character level of 8 best corresponds to a profession level of 65. A character level of 54 best corresponds to a profession level of 295. Design note, think of a better name for that. Now, before I get into the actual changes made to engineering, I want to go over the agenda. I generally want to flesh out the game. I want to nerf engineering in general so that other professions can compete with it, concerning how useful they are when somebody else can craft absolutely everything in the entire game for you on the spot and trade it to you for free. Give it to you for free. I want to make engineering be better for raiding healers. I want to increase the significance of specializing in the Novice Goblin engineering. No, a profession is not only useful for raiding just because it makes you money. That does not make it useful for raiding. That kind of usefulness can be replaced by grinding, and by being online more often. The only thing that matters concerning raiding from a profession is how much you can get out of the profession during a raid if you grind by means, well, not counting your finances that are taken care of via the profession. Because you can solve that with utter grinding. Anyways, I want to make engineering be better for raiding healers. Because other profession buffs and cooldowns are good for raiding healers. For other professions. I want to increase the significance of specializing in the Novice Goblin engineering. I want to make some non-valuable regents become valuable. I want to make engineering gear be more useful to people who are not clothies. I want to let engineers salvage the corpses of mechanical NPCs, and I want to do things that are related to other sections of this document. Now then, before the actual product changes, comes the changes to the schematics themselves. Not what is made, but how you make it. Everything that requires Goblin engineering to craft will also require Goblin engineering to use, except for the formula for Goblin for Goblin rocket fuel. Everything that requires Gnomish engineering to craft will also require Gnomish engineering to use, except for the plans for inlaying this or cylinder. No longer are you going to get 200 Gnomish engineering to craft a Gnomish chef or a Gnomish battle chicken, and then drop the entire profession to get and grab Goblin engineering and never lose it. Because you won't be able to use the Gnomish battle chicken or the Gnomish chef rate if you do that. There's actually going to be a real choice now. Arcanite Dragonlane will require 4 less delicate Arcanite converters to craft, but also require 4 Arcanite bars to craft, because it did not make sense that it would be called an Arcanite Dragonlane if none of its Arcanite is on the outside of it. Not to me, at least. Not enough sense to me, at least. Flawless Arcanite Rifle will require half as many Arcanite bars as before to craft, in order to hopefully make it be worth crafting in the first place. It's something other than a joke or some shit. Arcane Bombs will use an Arcane Crystal Shard, which Jewel Crafters can make 5 of out of an Arcane Crystal, instead of an entire delicate Arcanite converter to craft, making Arcane Bombs be as valuable as other endgame engineering explosives are. Hopefully. Green Lens, in addition to its vanilla crafting requirements, Green Lens will also require 1 globe of water to craft, which is part of making globes of water not be vendor trash. A small part of it. True Silver Transformers, in addition to their vanilla reagent requirements, will also require an elemental air to be crafted. It's an extra elemental air, that is. This is part of making elemental air not be vendor trash. These schematic for Biznix 247 by 128 accurate scope will no longer be found in the molten core, and it will instead be a world drop. And it will require different and cheaper mats, not raid mats, to make that do not include raid mats, and it will only require 290 engineering to learn. Now then, the actual changes to the products. People reading this should take note of Section 3.0.5 sweeping itemization changes in Section 3.0.6 itemization methodology. I already did videos on those subsections. Refer to my playlist in the video's description for the link to the playlist. Anyway, these section divisions are going to have a tremendous impact upon engineering schematics when I get around to it. Do know that most of this game's items are pending re-itemization, specifically the equipable items. Anyway, the speed of Flawless Arcanite Rifle will be changed to 1.5, and its damage will be decreased accordingly, making it be more useful, seeing as how 3.0 speed is not as good for a slow weapon as 1.5 speed is for a fast weapon, seeing as how fast range weapons will not be useless beyond being stat 6 anymore, because of many changes that I made to hunters, specifically Beast Mastery hunters, via the Beast Mastery talent tree. More on that in the Hunters video that I already recorded. Gyro Freeze Ice Reflector, Hyper Radiant Flame Reflector, and Ultra Flash Shadow Reflector will no longer work on enemies that are above level 60, and they'll never reflect a reflected spell. The former is to prevent them from trivializing raid bosses, and the latter is to prevent astronomically unlikely server crashes. Force Reactive Disc will no longer require being an engineer to use. Force Reactive Discs Equip effect will no longer have a chance of damaging the shield. Its proc will be limited to hitting a maximum of 6 targets, and its damage will be reduced to 2 to 3 damage per damage value, making it be consistent with the itemization methodology. It'll no longer have an internal cooldown, and its bonus armor will be lowered from 80 to 5, allowing its block damage to be as high as it is. Its base armor will stay the same, however, because it's still item level 65, if I recall correctly. Oh, by the way, Force Reactive Disc schematic is coming from somewhere else, too. I forgot to mention that. Hold on, let me check and see if memory serves me right. This is for some other game. Not Molten Core, not Molten Core, not Molten Core mats, okay. But it does drop from the Molten Core, okay. It does not require molten core mats, now I remember. Then I put it to changelog for the next version. Anyway, next up, both teleportation trinkets may no longer be used while in combat, neither may Hearthstones. However, an exception to this and the Hearthstone thing will be Dispel Divine Shield, which will allow you to do that. So you can still Bubble Earth and Bubble Teleport. The backfiring of Goblin Jumper Cables and if Goblin Jumper Cables extra large will simply kill you instead of dealing a small amount of nature damage. Those things are overpowered anyway. All types of target enemies will no longer have loot, but may be deconstructed for their loot tables. See our engineering changes below for more information. Bloodvine Lens will be turned into a cloth item that is itemized for casters, and its mats will be changed accordingly. Oh, also some other things to mention. Before I go over more of this, most area of effect almost every single area of effects, buff, class ability, and item that is item on use effect that is available to players, and item proc that's available to players. All those except for Concentrate, Hunter Traps, and Thunder Stomp, and something else were nerfed to have a hard target cap of 6 targets, Thunderclap, Force Stomp, and Whirlwind, in order to get rid of Spell Cleave Cleave metagames forever. More so the Spell Cleave metagame. I made specific changes to Ravageur as well. Anyway, this includes everything that's crafted by engineering. Everything. However, these changes only affect damaging and crowd controlling abilities. So not stuff like Demoralizing Shout and Demoralizing Roar. Anyway, moving on. Small C4M charges will only blow open doors that require 1 to 125 lockpicking to open. Large C4M charges, 1 to 225. Powerful C4M charges will blow up doors that require 1 to 300 lockpicking to open. By the way, there are a few doors in this game now, in this vision of the game that require more than 300 lockpicking to open. And there are gloves that give you bonus lockpicking skill. Scopes will grant different benefits as such. Instead of granting you a flat damage increase, Cruise Scopes give 3 range attack power. Instead of a flat damage increase, here, I'm just going to rewrite this. Instead of the benefits that they granted in Vanilla WoW. There. Scopes shall grant different benefits as such. Scopes shall grant different benefits instead of the benefits that are granted in Vanilla WoW as such. Hold on. Yeah, that sucks. Anyway, Crude Scope, 3 range attack power. Standard Scope, 7 range attack power. Accurate, 14 range attack power. Deadly Scope, 22 range attack power. Sniper Scope, 29 range attack power. Bisnex 247 by 120 Accurate Scope, 36 range attack power. Do also know that enchances can put most one-handed enchants on ranged weapons. See section number 9.4.2, listen and change your item enchants for more information. Or the previous video that they did on enchanting changes. Anyway, moving on. Gnomish Mind Control Cap will no longer work on targets above your level, preventing it from being abused in 40-man raids. To at least a large extent. If I recall correctly, every NPC in raids except for Tameable Beasts will be level 60, level 62 to, well, 61 to 63, if I remember right. Flame Deflectors will require 125 or more engineering to use. Ice Deflectors will require 155 or more engineering to use. Discombobulator Raids will require 160 or more engineering to use. Flash Bombs will require 185 or more engineering to use. Goblin Rocket Boots will require 225 or more Goblin engineering to use. Gnomish Chef Rates will require 240 or more Gnomish engineering to use. Goblin Dragon Guns will require 240 plus Goblin engineering to use. 9. New and remove engineering schematics. Enchanted Thorium Bullets will be added to the game, made by engineers, which add 21 damage per second, are blue, and require level 58 to equip. The bull trading NPCs that trade Thorium Bullets for arrows will trade these for enchanted Thorium-headed arrows. The following items will be given letter and mail versions that engineers can also craft. Flying Tiger goggles, Shadow goggles, Green Tiger goggles, and Bright Eye goggles. The different versions will have accordingly different mats. The following items will have cloth, leather, mail, and plate versions. Fire goggles, Goblin Construction Helmet, Goblin Mining Helmet, Novice Goggles, Novice Harm Prevention Belt, Cat's Eye Ultra Goggles, Novice Rocket Boots, Goblin Rocket Boots, Spell Power Goggles Extreme, Deep Dive Helmet, Rose Colored Goggles, Novice Mind Control Cap, Goblin Rocket Helmet, Spell Power Goggles Extreme Plus, and Master Engineer's Goggles. The different versions will have accordingly different mats. Bloodvine Goggles will be turned into a physical damage dealing helm, and only have leather, mail, and plate versions, and no more cloth version, and their mats will be changed accordingly. Easy Zero Dynamite 1 will deal 39 physical and 29 fire damage that cannot critically strike on a 5-minute cooldown with a 10% chance to backfire, and it'll invoke a random profession cooldown when used, backfire or not. Easy Zero Dynamite 2 will deal 116 physical and 86 fire damage that cannot crit on a 5-minute cooldown with a 10% chance to backfire, and it'll invoke a random profession cooldown when used, backfire or not. Do note that secondary professions do not get profession buffs or profession cooldowns. Only primary ones get those. Anyway, next up. A new reagent will be made called Enchanted Thorium Sensor, which requires Enchanted Thorium to make, and will be required to craft various endgame engineering schematics, and irrelevant schematics will probably have other reagents removed to make room for it. Mechanical repair kits will be removed from the game because engineering summons are not balanced around them anymore. Engineers may craft tiny smoke bombs, which are required by rogue seeds to distract. 1 iron bar, 1 heavy blasting powder, and 20 dust to decay make 20 tiny smoke bombs. And it'll be learned at 135 engineering. It'll be a green skill up, and it will be a green skill from 135 140 skill, at which it'll become gray. A new scope will be added to the game called Biznix 256 by 137 Easy Aim Scope, which is a world drop blue schematic that requires 300 engineering to learn, and can be used to craft a range, and can be used to enchant a ranged weapon, not craft that, enchant a ranged weapon to permanently grant 2% ranged haste and 3 ranged attack power. Engineers may craft toolboxes, which are bags that store all products of engineering, as well as schematics, inlaid made from cylinders, ender plans, goblin rocket fuel and its recipe, and hunter traps. Covered toolboxes are 10-slot bags, which require level 5 to equip. By the way, all bags, except for quest bags that have more than 6 slots, have a level requirement to equip them now, if I recall correctly. That is, if I recall correctly, about the 6 slotters not having a level requirement part. Anyway, copper toolbox, 10 slotter, level 5 to equip it. Hold on. Bronze toolboxes, 12 slots, level 15 to equip. Iron toolbox, 14 slots, level 25 to equip. Steel toolbox, 16 slots, level 32 to equip. Yada, etc. Arcanite toolbox, 24 slotter, blue item, requires level 60 to equip. This will allow engineers who always want to have tons of bombs and other useful items in their inventory this will allow them to have more room for other stuff or more bombs in their bags. Novice engineers may craft Mechanostrider mounts of all varieties that are sold by standard Mechanostrider vendors in Ironforge. Their schematics will be sold by said vendors. Designed out, only dwarves and gnomes can write them anyway. Non-epic Mechanostrider schematics cost 1 gold and require 225 Novice engineering to learn. They start at orange, they become yellow 240 skill, and they become green 255 skill, and they become gray 270 skill, and they require the following regions to craft. But you don't need to know engineering to write them. Yes, they're required to follow regions to craft. Bronze framework, 2 bronze frameworks, 8 iron struts, 15 jar of chronotoms, 15 gold power cores, 20 mithril casings, 10 inlaid mithril cylinders, 30 steel bars, 30 mithril bars, 2 thick leather, and 5 of whichever the hell kind of dye. Dye is a new item that I got. Actually, I was going to save this for a different video. Oh wait, I already went over it, that's right. As I mentioned in the other item changes video, our dice shall be added to the game that can be obtained from the dye vendors. This is kind of unrelated, but I'm going over it anyway. Armor dice shall be added to the game that can be obtained from new die vendors that can be found in capital cities. They can change the colors of your helm, shoulders, cloak, chest, bracelet, gloves, belts, pants, and boots by changing the item's primary or secondary color. There will be at least 128 different dice to choose from, and an extra quotation mark die, quotation mark, that reverts the item's primary and secondary color to its normal color, and each die will cost 5 silver before discounts, and all dice will stack with all one chance, for primary dice will not stack with other primary dice, and secondary dice will not stack with other secondary dice. Tertiary colors and other colors of armor, for example, the lava cracks in the Earth Fury set, and the yellow triangles in the bottom of Earth Fury leg guards, will not be changeable by die. Now back to engineering changes. And lastly, non-epic mechanics credit schematics will cost 10 gold and require 300 knowledge engineering to learn. They set out orange, and they require the following get scrapped. I haven't decided yet, but it's going to be expensive. Now then, other engineering changes. Goblin engineering shall be forbidden to all gnomes due to their rivalry. However, gnomes will not get to do the quest, show your work. They'll instead get a different quest that just involves talking to the gnomish engineering quest giver, after which they may become a gnomish engineer without having to prove themselves first. Beyond having enough engineering skill in the first place. Engineers may craft healing amplification devices, which are instant cast items, and count as profession cooldowns. Copper healing amplification devices grant you plus 67 for healing for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. They're learned at 75 skill and require 75 skill to use. And then yada etc. Enchanted thorium healing amplification devices. They grant you plus 400 healing for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown, or learned at 300 skill and require 300 skill to use. Engineers will be able to craft electrocution rays, which instantly deal nature damage to a target within 30 yards on a 2-minute cooldown. Oh, by the way, these things count as profession cooldown, so do the electrocution rays. Yes, electrocution rays deal nature damage within 30 yards on a 2-minute cooldown and are non-stacking consumable items with 10 charges each, like in this Vegas thumbnail. Copper electrocution rays deal 45 to 64 nature damage, are learned 75 skill, or require 75 skill, and require 75 skill to use. By the way, these things can crit. Bronze ones deal 90 to 127 damage, learned 125 skill, and require 125 skill to use. Yada etc. Enchanted thorium ones deal 270 to 380 damage, are learned at 300 skill, and require 300 skill to use. Copper frag mods will be added to the game. They take 60 skill to craft and use, and are learned from engineering trainers. Their regents are 1 copper bar, 2 handfuls of copper bolts, 3 rough blasting powder, and 1 linen cloth. Their effects, however, I have not decided what their skills will be yet, but their effects will be listed below. Mithril grenades will be added to the game. They take 250 skill to craft and use them. And the regents and schematic locations are undefined for now, and their effects are defined below. All engineering trinkets that have an on-use effect and are not teleporters or jumper cables will incur a regular trinket cooldown in addition to a profession cooldown, while regular trinkets will similarly put your engineering trinkets on cooldown, but not your profession cooldown. But they won't trip your engineering profession cooldown. Trinkets will reflect this. All engineering stunts will be proper stunts in that they do not have charges that can be consumed by hitting them in order to make the stuns wear off early when the charges are consumed. The crowd controlling effects of all engineering items with an on-use effects will have a reduced chance to affect enemies above their profession level restriction variable, such that each level higher increases 3% resist chance per level, and their profession level restriction variables are equal to the numbers in parentheses displayed below, except when concerning their ability to be resisted, in which case it is that level plus 8. The on-use effects of the items crafted by engineering will be further changed as such. All explosions cannot critically strike, and their physical damage is effective at armor and is unavoidable. All consumable items crafted by engineering will have a character level requirement equal to their profession level restriction variable, -5 to a maximum of 50, unless their profession level restriction variable, -5, would be equal to or below 5, in which case there will be no character level restriction, and unless they require knowledge or goblin engineering, and their profession level restriction variable, -5 would be equal to or greater than 30, in which case there will be no character level restriction. Rough dynamite has a profession level restriction variable of 4. Deals 12 physical damage and 9 fire damage within its radius. With a 1.5-second cast time and a 5-minute cooldown. Rough Copper Bomb. Professional level restriction variable of 6. Deals 22 physical and 16 fire damage with a 1 to 2 second stun on a 3-second cast time with a 5-minute cooldown. And now I'm just going to slowly scroll through the rest of this because fuck if I'm going to actually narrate all this. Do note that unless this number says 52 or higher, it's going to have a reduced chance to affect level 60 creatures. Level 60 and level 63 creatures at least. Yes, it says 60, not 30. That's on purpose. You can pause the video if you need to. Do recall that this has a larger radius than Dark Iron Bombs have. Therefore, they are better than Dark Iron Bombs. Despite the only same amount of damage on the same cooldown with the same stun at the same cast time. No Universal Remote will have a professional level restriction variable of 60. This has an 85% chance when you use to turn a mechanical into your minion for 15 to 16 seconds, and a 15% chance to increase its damage by 124% for 24 seconds. Instead, both outcomes also generate 100 times your character level threat on a 6-minute cooldown. Minor Recombobulator has a professional level restriction variable of 23. This dispels 1 polymorph up to level 43 with no heal or mana gain. 10 charges on a 15-second cooldown. 5-0. Discombobulator raise. Well, fuck am I going to narrate all this? No shrink rate. See below. Only 1,079 H damage for no shift rates. Only. And that's if it doesn't backfire. You really don't want Goblin Dragon Guns to backfire, even if it is dealt over 30 seconds. Goblin Rocket Helmet was 2 exploitables, so now it does something completely different. And now to summons. Do note that Mechanical Dragon Lane has to hit softer than Compact Harvest Reaper, in part due to its cooldown being lower. Also, Mechanical Dragon Lane is a trinket, so it gets a lot more damage for being a trinket. Despite, and again, its lower cooldown means it has to hit softer. I think that's what I said. By the way, Arcanite Dragon Lane no longer casts Flame Buffet. And its AoE just does 50 damage, once again to up to 6 targets, just like almost all our AoE accessible to players. No Shrink will have a 30% chance to shrink the foes intended, a 10% chance to grow the foe, a 10% chance to shrink you, a 10% chance to grow you, a 5% chance to chain shrink your enemies up to 6 including the target, a 5% chance to chain grow your foes up to 6 including the target, and a 30% chance to do nothing. Shrinking means getting shrunken and reducing damage dealt by 16% for 2 minutes. And growing means getting big and increasing damage dealt by 22% for 2 minutes, and has a 2-minute cooldown and will not work on creatures above level 60. Less this thing be used lets this thing be abused very hard in raids. Design notes, these numbers might be off. Robotic NPCs, including golems, may be deconstructed by an engineer after the corpse is looted in the same manner in which a skinner may skin a skinnable NPC after he kills it. This shall require an engineering skill of 5 times the corpse's level, and it shall be a green skill up until 5 times the corpse's level plus 5. It shall do as follows. Corpse level 1 to 5, 97% chance of vendor trash, 3% chance of handful of copper bolts. Corpse level 6 to 10, 95% chance of gray stuff of vendor trash, 5% chance of handful of copper bolts or copper tube. 97.5% chance of gray stuff for rusty harvest golems. Corpse level 11 to 15. 93% chance of gray stuff. 7% chance of handful of copper bolts, copper tube, or copper modulator. Corpse level 16 to 20. 97% chance of vendor loot. 3% chance of copper modulator, bronze tube, or whirring bronze gizmo. Corpse level 21 to 25. 95% chance of vendor trash. 5% chance of bronze tube, whirring bronze gizmo, or bronze framework. Corpse level 26 is 30. 93% chance of vendor trash, 7% chance of bronze tube, whirring bronze gizmo, or bronze framework. Corpse level 31 to 35. 97% chance of gray stuff, 3% chance of bronze framework, gold power core, rare, iron strut, or fused wiring, rare. That is, when you get that 3% chance, you'll rarely find a fused wiring or gold power core. That's what rare means. Corpse level 3640. 95% chance of vendor trash, 5% chance of gold power core, rare, iron strut, jar of chronotom, or fused wiring, rare. Corpse level 41 to 45. 97% chance of great stuff, 3% chance of jar of chronotom, mithril tube, unstable trigger, or fused wiring, rare. Corpse level 46 to 50. 95% chance of great shit, 5% chance of mithril tube, unstable trigger, mithril casing, true silver transformer, rare, or fused wiring, rare. Corpse level 51 to 55. 97% chance of vendor trash, 3% chance of mithril casing, true silver transformer, rare, thorium widget, thorium tube, or fused wiring, rare. Corpse level 56 to 60. 95% chance of gray stuff, 5% chance of thorium widget, thorium tube, delicate arcanite converter, rare, or fused wiring, rare. And corpse level 61 to 63. 93% chance of gray stuff, 7% chance of thorium widget, thorium tube, delicate arcanite converter, rare, or fused wiring, rare. Target enemies are special exceptions and no longer have non-deconstruction loot tables and can instead be deconstructed, which has the loot tables that normally the Ludinum had in patch 1.12.2. And that's all the changes I have to make to engineering. The next video will be about first aid. Thanks for watching.